It is tragic when people can go missing or be abducted and never be found, even when the best forensic evidence at the time was not enough to help find them. On many occasions, the people who committed the crime would eventually tell someone about the incident to help ease their guilt, because they are unable to live with their conscience. But if the abductor was a psychopath who has no sense of guilt or morality, this makes it very difficult, because these people can just move on with their lives without any concerns or worries, and not tell a soul. The following is a tragic story about a young babysitter called Evelyn Hartley, who tragically disappeared in 1953. The city of La Crosse sits along the banks of the Mississippi River in southwest Wisconsin. La Crosse is a charming community that ranks among one of the best places to live in all of Wisconsin. As picturesque as the city is, its peaceful and pleasant reputation was forever marred on the night of October the 24th, 1953. It was the night the 15-year-old babysitter Evelyn Grace Hartley disappeared. Evelyn Hartley was a sophomore with the Central High School. Richard Hartley, her father, was a biology professor at La Crosse State College, and her mother, Ethel, was a homemaker. On that chilly October evening, she left her family home to babysit for college professor Viggo Rasmussen. Evelyn was to take care of their 20-month-old baby. She left that night wearing her red jeans, a white blouse, and her white bobby socks. Evelyn had contacted her parents once while she was babysitting. However, after a long period of time, when her parents had not heard from her, her father became concerned and called the Rasmussen home to check whether his daughter was still babysitting, but got no response. He was now starting to worry and drove out to the residence, but found it locked. He repeatedly knocked on the front door but received no response. He walked around the property and discovered an open window, which led to the basement. He then let himself into the house. He was shocked to find that nobody was in the house except for the Rasmussen baby, asleep in an upstairs room. Hartley called the police immediately. They searched the home and managed to find one of Evelyn's shoes, as well as her glasses, which were broken. Her other shoe turned up in another part of the home. They also found blood inside the house. A perimeter search was organised, which found some additional bloodstains in the backyard and showed a trail of bloody prints in the nearby garage. The police brought in bloodhounds to follow the scent, which they tracked to the main road. With the evidence now confronting them, this could be proof that Evelyn's body had been placed in a car and driven away. The community came together for a massive search. Volunteers searched around the town, while the Pacific Air Force and the National Guard searched for Evelyn from the air. Several high school and college students joined in, and within a few days, over 2,000 people were out hunting for Evelyn. Police contacted hunters in the area and asked them to be on alert whilst out and about, and farmers were asked to check for any freshly turned earth on their property. In the effort to leave no stone unturned, even fresh graves were uncovered to ensure that Evelyn hadn't been secretly buried in one. Taking things even further, the authorities announced they would start checking all cars. The goal was to check the back seat and trunk of every car in the country for bloodstains or other suspicious signs. After 40,000 cars had been cleared, police then placed stickers on them which read, "My car is okay." Police Chief George Long ordered gas station attendants to report suspicious vehicles they saw, as well as the license plates of drivers that refused to be subjected to a mandatory search. Police officers also received an order to immediately check out cars they encountered that didn't have the OK sticker. Richard and Ethel Hartley made their own pleas for their daughter's whereabouts and addressed the presumed abductor of their daughter, begging them for answers. A short time later, the Hartleys received 2 phone calls. A man called offering information about the disappearance of Evelyn for $500 cash. Police assisted the Hartleys in arranging a trap for the caller. The snare succeeded and the police were able to capture 20-year-old Jack Dufferin. Unfortunately, Dufferin didn't know anything about Evelyn's disappearance. He was imprisoned for attempted extortion. Several neighbours, organisations and local businesses came together to establish a reward for information that could help lead to the return of Evelyn. A reward for $6,600 was offered. Many calls flooded the police station, where each one was investigated but quickly dismissed. It seemed as if no one knew anything. 1 year after the disappearance of Evelyn Hartley, Sheriff Robert Scullin estimated he and his department had questioned some 1,200 people. Detective Captain Leo Kim, who was in charge of the initial investigation, suggests the number could be closer to 3,500. Either way, no new leads ever came from all the questioning. Evelyn's case was eventually handed over to A.M. Josephson, a criminal investigator from LA Cross County. Josephson pursued the case for many years, focusing on 2 important clues discovered in the first few weeks of the initial investigation. The first of these clues was a pair of tennis shoes found near Highway 14, around 10 miles southeast of LA Cross, near Shelby, Wisconsin. The tread on the bottom of the tennis shoes created a distinct pattern when pressed against mud. Indeed, there had been a chunk of dirt discovered on the living room of the Rasmussen home that detectives believed was a match for the shoe tread. The same pattern could also be found in other footprints outside of the Rasmussen home. The second clue was a denim jacket found stained with blood within 800 feet of the tennis shoes. Josephson believed that the jacket was connected to the case. Josephson encountered another lead while investigating the shoes. He determined the soles had a distinct pattern associated with operating Whizzer motorbikes. He spent the following months looking through sales records and receipts, tracking down past and present owners of Whizzer motorbikes. Unfortunately, those efforts bore no fruit, and he was unable to get any leads. The jacket and shoes related to the crime will be put on display across the region, along with a plea for information for anyone who recognised them to come forward. Again, lots of calls and other potential leads came in, but nothing materialised. The jacket and shoes eventually fell out of favour, with other investigators who no longer felt they were important to the case. The tennis shoes were a large size 11, but the jacket was a smaller size 36, leading many to come to the conclusion they weren't connected. However, Josephson refused to give up and viewed the size discrepancy of the articles as proof that Evelyn was taken by 2 suspects. He continued this search, but ultimately his efforts bore no fruit. The case of Evelyn Hartley would get an unexpected shot in the arm in 1957, thanks to Ed Gein. Ed Gein was a notorious murderer and body snatcher who confessed to having murdered 2 women and fashioned human trophies from their body parts, and for a time was considered a suspect in her disappearance. Police had evidence that Gein had been in the area visiting relatives at the time of Evelyn's disappearance. However, after Gein's property was searched, police were unable to find any trace of Evelyn or her belongings. Gein was also able to pass 2 lie detector tests where he insisted that he was not involved with the case. Authorities would officially declare that he had no connection to the case, even though some people continue to suspect he may have been involved in some way. Many years had passed, but nothing was ever forthcoming, and by 1959 all efforts had fizzled out and the Evelyn Hartley case was officially cold. Over the ensuing years, several people came forward confessing to the crime, where all of the confessions were duly investigated and dismissed. In 1971 in Casper, Wyoming, a 51-year-old transient worker named Tommy Thompson was arrested for passing bad checks. While Thompson was in custody, he told police of a rape and murder that he had committed in 1953, even naming Evelyn Hartley as the victim of the assault. The authorities checked his claims and found that he was serving time in Minnesota prison during the time Evelyn disappeared. On October the 22nd, 1978, 25 years after the disappearance of Evelyn, the La Crosse Tribune ran an article with the help of her parents. The Hartleys admitted that they had given up hope of ever finding out what had happened to their daughter. They said they no longer wished to read about their daughter's disappearance. Professor Viggo Rasmussen, who she babysat for on that fateful night, was interviewed for the article as well, and claims to be haunted by visions of what might have happened at his home that night. To this day, Evelyn's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery.